Hello, everyone. It is Saturday, the 3rd of February, 2024. And this is the first time in a while that I can actually remember doing a morning video and actually having sunlight. It's been a long time. Oh, it feels so good. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, I don't even have my phone out or anything like that. I wanted to touch on some controversial topics today. These videos I actually did look through before you and I are going to share them, just because I wanted to make sure that there was nothing in it where I'm showing what could be something I don't want to share, especially on X or YouTube, and especially regarding Israel and Palestine, what's going on there. Before I've shared some things, and it's heartbreaking, but there's a lot of stuff I'm not sharing, and the international courts also just like a week ago or so, based on South Africa's push for this to be called a genocide on the international courts, what's going on in Israel and Palestine. It was seen as such, with no real mitigation strategy in place, even though they decided on the fact that this was a genocide. And Americans, I'm talking about their leaders, Biden and stuff like that, he might not agree, and Netanyahu might not agree, but they're facts. And I've shared enough proof to prove that they're facts. So I do want to share this. It's from What If Everything You Were Taught Was a Lie? There's some pretty good content on this. This is Rumble. And for those of you that have been in the community for a while, in any capacity, you would know the FBI, CIA had put out different logos and symbols and code words that were used for many, many decades to discuss human trafficking, child rings, including of, not just children, but like women and other people as well. And a lot of people refuse to believe this. A lot of people are saying that this is another conspiracy theory, and there have been false flag events put in place in order to make people, think that this was just a right-wing conspiracy theory. And even with what went on with what people are trying to link as a QAnon supporter or leader. Yet again, QAnon is just like Operation Trust from the Soviet eras, from decades ago, to make people believe that there's someone within the government that's helping them from within and stuff like that. It's not true. It's to make you do nothing and be happy about what's going on with the friggin' plans that they want to, implement and exploit you in the process, right? And so everyone's just fucking eating it up. And so they're trying to link this Q guy, what they're alleging is a QAnon guy, as a guy that's clearly crazy. He beheaded his father, and this has been all over the news. That's not something I even wanted to report, just because this is a psyops and it's propaganda being pushed. And this guy was clearly crazy, and so they're linking him with QAnon, of course, and then they're saying that the right-wing MAGA Trump, supporters, all of this stuff are evil demons and stuff like that, and this is what they do. No, they don't. Okay, and that guy, likely not even a QAnon guy, and even if he is, he's clearly, there's extremists in that group. I've said this now for years. Like, if you look at one of my videos from a couple of years ago, I literally was saying QAnon, equals Operation Trust. It's a counterintelligence operation, and people are falling for it. And so, again, just like more push of trying to call people that are trying to call out government corruption and scandals and their involvement with human trafficking and drug trafficking and such, and arms dealers and shares and stocks in the military, pharmaceutical, industrial complex. And then making fun of us, so blatantly making fun of us, thinking that we're so ignorant that we're not even getting the underlying subtle hints that they're using, even when they're speaking on their social media platforms that we are paying for. State-funded media, that's not even news. And so if anyone wants to, again, with this push, it's boring. This right-wing conspiracy group, mega, whatever you want to call it, that I've been associated with, and countless others I know, for sharing medical, scientific, and government data and being of service for over 20 plus years. And I'm getting basement-dwelling, Cheeto-eating, fucking anime, weird-ass, porn-watching losers who still find the time to troll me on social media and stuff like that as well. So I just humbled this guy. Well, I mean, he's probably like, yeah. So no, it's not him, but there's a guy that I had said the earth was flat, and he decided to comment about me having like an education or an IQ of a 3-year-old, all this stuff. And so I wasn't biting on that. And so I was just giving like the typical, like, giving the names of well-established, published authors, like, Andrew Henry, Alex Gleason, Eric Dubay, countless others. And and then talking about the curvature, proving the fact that I even said, like, I bet you'd have to Google on a censored browser any facts or data about your globe Earth model. You don't even know the distances probably from the sun and the moon to the Earth, and you're probably going to check that out and Google it because you don't know the algorithms utilized for the curvature calculations. Again, like, people that don't even know their model that they're believing in with all of their might, looking ridiculous to people like me, because like I'm predicting that this year is the year that Joe Rogan is going to finally get people on his show to discuss the fake moon landings, allow us to give our actual footage to prove it. I have a lot out there. I've shared these for years as well, to let us talk about flat Earth and not edit it as such to make it look where like you're just cherry picking like out of like multiple hour conversations, like one little part that could be taken out of context. And but I'm thinking this is the year 2024, and we'll see. But I will get on with this one because this is a very important video, and not a lot of people talk about this for obvious reasons. Some people, it's just they don't have the stomach for it. I get it. Some people don't believe that this is actually going on. Open your eyes. And yeah. Some people just want blissful ignorance, to be honest with you. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure, like, I put a comment in, but bars on the windows. This was in the 90s, early 90s. And there's irrefutable evidence, and even look at Whitney Webb's books that she's publishing now with names, or even Bill Clinton, photos of him connected with Jeffrey Epstein, even in the mid 90s, so not early 2000s. And yes, Trump also. I'm not saying that they were part of the diddling crew, but they were certainly obviously connected with him, hung out with him multiple occasions in multiple locations. And it could have been just like the financial, aspect of this that he was also heavily involved with internationally. Could possibly. But check this out with the hidden symbology as well. Tunnel systems. Who uses tunnels the most? Yeah, and Podesta, I can't believe this guy isn't in jail yet. This is disgusting. Makes me want to vomit reporting this stuff, but necessary. And he's a government employee, taxpayer funded in the U.S. And that spirit cooking freak that they're also like affiliated with, who's now like actually like working with Zelensky, Ukraine. I'm not even making this up. It's in plain sight. And the irony is they have it all wrong too, with Satan worshiping this friggin' half human, half goat. They're literally just like they're just idolizing, worshiping Capricorn and Aquarius, which are fixed constellations, zodiac signs. So actually just believing in fantasy make believe. We might as well idolize worship a freaking unicorn. Or the tooth fairy or Santa Claus. God is real, the creator is real. There's at least one creator of this creating cosmos. But angels and demons are people on earth. Look at this, disgusting. J'adore les enfants, j'aime les enfants. That means like I love children. Unless they changed it. Let me see the We Charity logo. It's disgusting. It's not art. This is not art. And this also reminds me of the Gemini twins in the freaking Stanley Kubrick movie. Like, why? Why? What? This is not art. Goat Hill Pizza owner Nancy Pelosi. Oh, George Soros involved with this pizza parlor. He listed as a major donor to the American Bridge 21st Century PAC. Check this out. This PAC is on record with the FEC as having made several donations to Comet Ping Pong. Just gotta click these. Just type it all out. And you can look at my other videos for more on that. So I'm flipping gears here. New York Times finally realizes Israel is intentionally flattening Gaza with Norman Finkelstein or Stein. So that's good to hear.
And we have the great.
It's too bad that it's within the next year. It's too bad that they lied for several months and almost got us involved in international wars and made things a lot worse. So with mainstream media not being held accountable when they're supposed to be like the news, especially, and these people are not being fired, jailed, investigated, I don't understand what's going on. I don't like. They should be held accountable, obviously, like through the legal means. Law enforcement, lawyers stepping up, especially in the province of Ontario, where our capital is, because it's been a fucking disgusting mess of pushing a woke narrative now for several years because of the people that are inside.
Honor of being joined by Dr. Norman Finkelstein, author most recently of I Will Burn That Bridge When I Get to It. Thank you very much for coming on, Norman.
My pleasure as always.
All right. So you just dropped a bomb today. Stop the presses. The New York Times has discovered that the Israeli Mongol hordes are systematically destroying civilian infrastructure in Gaza. So this is something you just
Just
dropped
2 days
on your
ago.
Substack. We'll just read a little bit of it. In fact, every Israeli operation in Gaza has resulted in the massive systematic destruction of civilian infrastructure without any pretense whatsoever of military necessity. The Israeli organization Breaking the Silence collected these soldier testimonies after Operation Protective Edge 2014. So, this is from a previous Israeli operation in which they conducted themselves in a very similar way to how they're conducting themselves now. So this
So
is
that was
one
a decade
soldier's
ago,
test.
2014. And since then, look how things are with even Greek Orthodox Christian, with even Christian churches, like schools, refugee sites, and stuff like that, destroyed.
Testimony. Did you see any before and after aerial photos? Sure, neighborhoods erased. You know what joke was being told in the army at the time? The joke says that Palestinians only sing the chorus because they have no verses, parentheses, houses left. In Hebrew, the word for verses is the same as the word for house. So this is doing nothing to disabuse us of me and Keaton's theory that Zionists are the only Jews who aren't funny. Soldier testimony number 21. I don't know how they pulled it
Zionists
off.
can be
The
anyone, by the way,
D9, which are the armored bulldozers, operators didn't
and they're
rest
not
for a
all crazy.
second, nonstop, as if they were playing in a sandbox, driving back and forth, raising another house, another street. And at some point, there was no trace left of that street.
Oh, yes.
Day and night, 20.
And I'll reiterate, I've shared this in videos too. And with these vehicles, like these dozers and cranes and dump trucks and stuff like that, they've also driven over fucking children that were just with rocks, whatever you want to call it, just trying to get them to stop demolishing their fucking land. Okay, their livelihoods, their homes. We've got fucking psychos driving over kids in bulldozers, and I shared that. It's disgusting.
24/7. They went back and
No one I know did that in Afghanistan.
forth, gathering up mounds, making embankments, flattening house after house. Now, if you go to Norman Finkelstein on Substack, you can see a lot more testimonies very much like this. Now, Norman, we are told that the reason Israel is conducting such a brutal campaign right now in Gaza, why they're clearing street after street and
Because
demolishing all
Netanyahu
these
is a
buildings,
psychopath.
is because they're in this existential fight against Hamas, precipitated by October 7th. But here you're describing an action that took place 10 years before in which they're conducting themselves very much the same way. So why were they doing that in 2014?
Well, first of all, I want to present the context. Namely, in the testimonies I assembled, I took them from my book, Gaza, Inquiry and Inquest into Its Martyrdom. Those are testimonies which were matter-of-factly given to an Israeli NGO called Breaking the Silence. And it's page after page after page after page, quite literally. And there's no, except my memory is right, except for one testimony, there's absolutely no remorse whatsoever. It's just a matter of fact description by soldiers who were in Gaza as to what they observed and what they participated in. And it's really, how can I put it? I remember actually reading it in 2015. I was, I think, in the back of a van. And when you read this testimony, your innards, or at least my own innards, just began to writhe. The matter of fact way in which they describe systematically destroying one home after another, one block after another, one neighborhood after another. Now, you know, living in the United States or elsewhere in the so called advanced capitalist world or industrialized world, if you lose an hour's worth of work on your computer, just an hour's worth of work, if you're anything like me, you go mad with anger, frustration, screaming, yelling, kicking, banging. And here, Israel goes into Gaza every few years, and one of it, what it calls its operations, and systematically flattens every home in the neighborhood. It very patiently, very methodically, it ropes off a street or ropes off a block, and then just goes in with the bulldozers and flattens every home. Now, nobody ever reports this. You would never have found it in the New York Times during those past operations. So today, the New York Times had one of its Stop the Presses stories. It depicted how Israel systematically demolishes Palestinian homes in Gaza. But anybody who knows the history, it's old news. Now, before I go further, I do want to read how the Israeli army spokesperson explained what's happening now in Gaza. So let me quote him. His name is Dan Hagari, excuse me. He writes, quote, he says, quote, the soldiers were clearing the area to allow residents of southern Israel to safely return to their homes, according to Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, the chief spokesman for Israel's military. So you have to have a real, what shall I call it, sense of humor, macabre humor, to appreciate that line delivered straight. It's a straight line by the Israeli army spokesperson. The reason they're flattening of all of northern Gaza, the reason they're flattening it is to enable the people who have been driven out of the north to return safely to their ellipsis, to enable them to return safely to their homes.
which don't exist anymore.
Right. You don't know whether to laugh or cry. Now, bear in mind, and I would challenge anybody to dispute me, whenever the New York Times quotes an Israeli source that must be anonymous because this is a state secret, they're quoting people like Hagari.
Right.
That's their sources. The guy is not even, he doesn't even rise to the status of brain dead. No, he does not reach that. I'm sorry. He does not reach that threshold. I do not believe, and I have studied the Nazi era very closely. I've written on it, I've studied it. I do not believe any Nazi in a press conference would have said something so defiantly imbecilic as that statement. But for the Times, this is sacrosanct. An Israeli spokesperson said it. When you read people like Patrick Kingsley, every day, every agonizing, tormenting day, that unreconstructed unreconstructed slime bucket. He keeps repeating the lies for a week, where the lies about the Hamas Command and Control Center beneath Al Shifa Hospital.
Yeah.
What did it turn out to be? A tunnel that Israel built, and that contained, brace yourself, it contained 1 or 2 flush toilets. That was the command and control center that Patrick Kingsley told us about. Then Israel, of course,
just explain who Patrick Kingsley is.
He's their main reporter, and I don't think they ever even go into Gaza. They report from Jerusalem, but pretend as if they're in Gaza.
Right.
Then, of course, Israel came under scrutiny for its devastating bombing, the most dense and intense bombing in not only modern, as in post-2000 history, it's a more intense and dense bombing
Then Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Dresden during World War II. So Israel is now before the International Court of Justice.
That's a fact.
And it has to explain what's going on. So along comes Patrick Kingsley.
That's a lot of money too.
Reconstructed.
So the last I checked with the explosions, that just since October 7th, it's like 3 Hiroshima and Nagasaki's. Okay. That people are trying to claim ended World War II, saved so many lives, all that shit. That's fake news. Because even days after the second bombing, there was no intent on stopping or standing down until there was a letter that arrived from Russia, and within hours of that, Japan and other government officials mobilized immediately after that, and within hours of that, surrendered. Okay, so it was actually Russia, and I'm not, and that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're good, they're bad, they're in between. I'm fucking neutral, reporting this. Okay, I'm trying not to have emotional bias, even though Canadians and innocent civilians internationally are there's a lot of harm and suffering and death being attributed to lies by liars. Okay, Chrystia Freeland, Justin Trudeau, Melanie Joly, and these Muppets as well included, who also lied about that church, and who I, on the record, within hours of that happening, even though I'm in a different fucking country, was sharing the facts, saying that was not correct, and being demonized by little demons because Melanie Joly and Chrystia Freeland and Justin Trudeau, these people that are supposed to know, and Bill Blair, who's our Minister of National Defense, who has a bad reputation for when he was law enforcement, okay, for escalation of force that was not necessary, and not knowing the reality of the world, and clearly not having any intelligence that's accurate to actually, to tell him like what's going on here or abroad. Also lying about that. And I was emailing him, calling his office, doesn't even work 27 hours. So that's part-time work and gets paid $500,000 a year. And that's atrocious. and not responding to emails, phone calls by people that have my credentials. And that blows his out of the water as well. And Wayne Air, I'm going on all these freaking tangents, but there's even oil, billions of dollars worth of oil within that trade route, okay, just west of friggin' Palestine and Israel. Israel, by the way, that wasn't on any maps prior to the 1900s, just to be clear. Okay, that was created by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds. And look at the Balfour Declaration of 1917 before you talk to me about anything. And let me tell you about the fucking 1940s, by the way. Hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were genocided by Americans, UK, and then Europeans that came from Europe, not their holy land from hundreds of years, thousands of years prior. Okay, Europeans, Germans, lots of those, Ukrainians, lots of those. Okay, people that come from my bloodline too. So, my family comes from Europe as well. 23andMe, Ancestry.com, that's what it shows me, even though my family have actually been here, and we have indigenous people as well in our bloodline. Josephine Nicolet was her last name because of who she married before my family lineage with the Dussaults, and Euphrazine was her indigenous name. So anyways, at least hundreds since the 1500s, even on my European side of the family, has been settled within Canada. And so not just since the 40s or 50s, like literally since the 1400s, 1500s, and then also married and bred with people that were indigenous. But again, there's been cycles of life where people have colonized and recolonized the continents throughout history, and we've been way more advanced, way more populated, and then way less advanced, way less populated, depending on the conditions in the world, in the region that we're living in, right? And that stuff, and how habitable it is, and such. And so yeah, just a bunch of bullshit for more money and lies and propaganda, and even what's going on with Iran trying to get involved in a war there. You have bases, you have infrastructure in places, and people don't want you there. And first of all, you're blaming it on people that are not even admitting to the deaths of Americans. I'm talking about, rest in peace, heroes that are being caught in the crossfires of a proxy war by lobbyists and pedophiles, okay, and human traffickers, drug traffickers that are ruining the world, right? Like everyone's like, oh, that's just how government is, just how it is in the world. No, it's not. Like when we had more advanced civilizations and we thrived with the healing gardens and stuff like that as well, and having our infrastructure being beautiful, using harmonics and frequencies and waves within the designs, we weren't crazy like we are now. And now we're even segregating ourselves by skin color again, even in Canada and the US. Like I can't even make this stuff up. There's now like swim times and lounge times and stuff like that where it's black only, not white only, because again, that, even though we're the majority within the countries that we're currently living in, that's seen as white privilege, even though if you look at multiple other countries in the world where we're not the minority, and in fact, white skinned people are the minority internationally. China has over 1 billion people, allegedly. I think it's under that, but they're not white. India, they're not white. They have over 1 billion people, allegedly. I think it's less than that. And so just there alone, you know what I mean? You have half the fucking population almost. And then you look at Africa, which is actually significantly bigger than North America, even though on friggin' maps that we see from Google by insecure weenies that put them together, they want to show it where Africa is smaller than North America because ego. It is what it is. I don't even know. It's not. And so there's more black-skinned people within Africa than there are white-skinned people, and especially within Canada, like for where I'm living. And no one is, there's no white-skinned people screaming at the top of our lungs to have equal representation, not even equal representation, to have representation within all of their levels of government, right? So no one's pushing to be, like the prime minister of China, or the president or of India, or any of these other friggin' places. If you look at some island nations from people that are part of the 13 family bloodlines, or whatever you want to call it, that have, colonized and exploited people, that's not me. That's not my family bloodline. That's not that's such a small percentage of the fucking world. And it's being blamed on such like a large percentage of the population, which is ridiculous. It's just like calling unvaccinated people demons and criminals. It's like the same thing. Like there's really no reason behind it. It just sounds interesting and divisive. So whatever. I don't even know where I was going with all of that, other than like, let this guy talk about the genocide, because it's been going on for many fucking years. And Netanyahu, he's been part of it for decades. And so has Biden. And that's why he's getting pedophile, alleged YouTube and X. I'm on these platforms too. See, this is why half my videos don't make it on YouTube as well. You need to get on Don189 on Rumble, because I have hundreds of more videos there than I do on YouTube. And I'm on account number friggin' 3 or 4 for YouTube as well. Anyway.
Slime bucket. And he tells us, according to anonymous Israeli officials who can't be named because it's a state secret, Gaza has, he tells us, 450 miles of tunnels. Now remember, Gaza is a tiny parcel of land.
Yeah.
It's 25 miles long, 5 miles wide. So of course I was perplexed by this latest revelation brought to us by Patrick Kingsley, courtesy of that Israeli official who has to be anonymous.
So Netanyahu lied to Congress in 2002 about weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, which got us into wars, which I served for 15 years as an infantry officer coming from Canada. I was the first female in the history of my regiment for this cycle, like I've said before. And for over 5 years now, I've been incorporated, Athena incorporated, because Athena, goddess of war, strategy, wisdom, courage, etc. And also Athena Roto 8 was my Afghanistan tour. And so there's just a lot of connections with Athena that I like. And so also as an international security analyst covering this stuff. And I'm telling you, this guy's bang on with what he's talking about.
So I went and checked.
So Netanyahu lied to Congress about that. I've buried people at war at home because of because of suicide and or people that have isolated. They have like trauma. They have injuries. We shouldn't do that to warriors.
Both of you guys know, the New York City has a famed, sprawling, ramified subway system. Okay?
There's tunnels all over the world.
For those of you who don't know my glorious city, we have the A line, the B line, the C line, the D line, the E line, the F line, the G line, the H line, all the way to the Z line. And then we have, seriously, I'm not making this up. And then we have the 1 line, 2 line, 3 line, 4 line, 5 line, 6 line, 7 line. I don't know if we have
seven's it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
7's it.
Yeah, okay. You get the picture, right? The total tunnel length of our subway system, the total tunnel length is 430 miles. But Gaza has 450 miles. What's even more interesting is Israel keeps saying it doesn't know where the tunnels are. Well, if you don't know where the tunnels are, how do you know how much tunnel length there is in Gaza?
Right.
The whole point
like there's blueprints and surveys being done, you know what I mean? Like
bombing of Gaza by saying there's a tunnel everywhere.
Right.
There's a tunnel everywhere.
Well, they just released some footage where they went into a cemetery and there were tunnels.
Yeah, there was a CNN report. There was a CNN reporter on the site of a cemetery that had just been leveled, and they asked the IDF guy. They said, "Can we go and see this tunnel that you found under what used to be this cemetery?" And the guy literally says on camera, he says, "No, we can't let you close to the tunnel because you might fall in. The ground around it is weak. You might fall in." And then when CNN cut to an aerial shot later on, they realized that these holes in the ground were not where the cemetery was, but quite a few feet away.
That's their ruses. I mean, anybody could see right through the ruses except the New York Times. When they discovered their tunnel under Al Shifa Hospital, they told the reporters, you can't go in because it's booby trapped.
And they had crisis actors. They had role players. I shared that. Identified them.
Created that
not all, but most
piece of technology, Iron Dome, which can shoot down rockets in the sky, but it hasn't yet figured out how to neutralize a booby trap. They don't know how to neutralize a booby trap. They haven't figured that out yet. And now they say that you might fall in the tunnel. By the way, they don't just unearth the tunnel, the graves. Go back and look at what CNN reported. The bulldozers go in, unearth the folks buried in the grave, and you know what they do? They run over the bodies.
Hey, come see us do a live stand-up show. We're going to be in Omaha, Des Moines.
So I like Jimmy Dore stuff. He gets it right most of the time. He gets it right so much more than so many other people. So I'll just get out of this. I'm just the light is it's a little bit sketchy right now. Hard to see.
Operate a lid on the outside of the space station. So my question is, how can you operate a lid on the outside of the space station by manipulating something mechanical on the inside of the space station without losing air pressure. It's called real good engineering.
That's Don Pettit, a liar.
Station.
Space is fake. Matt Walsh is still a little sad, and he's doubling down on the fact that he's not going to do any research. Okay, he's going to stop at his first, like, he's going to be like, was the moon landing real, or debunking moon landing deniers? Like, that's going to be his search, because like that's what people like that do. And he's going to look at the first couple of links that he sees on his Google search, his censored browser, likely connecting from the US from an IP address that he's never changed his entire friggin' life. Probably still hasn't deleted his cookies or his history or any of that stuff to like even assist remotely with the metadata and the algorithms and any of that stuff. No. Not going to do that. Not going to have a VPN connecting from different countries where you're not tracked and stuff like that, adding that, upgrading your package. And then he's going to slam people like me when I'm like showing the irrefutable proof all for years now of the friggin' moon landings being faked. And then also people admitting it was faked, including the person that directed the friggin' moon landings and more. And I just wanted to share this because it's for you Americans out there. Biden chooses Pizzagate Podesta to replace John Kerry. And John Kerry is also a liar who has lied on the record and even deceived people about like his friggin' fuel consumption regarding like private jets. Like, I've never owned a private jet. First of all, that's a lie, and you're on the record lying. And then it's like, and then you have to blatantly say, okay, well, your wife has a friggin' private jet, but that's not me. It's not under my name. You know, like, shut up. Shut up. Like, oh my God. And it's like friggin' climate change books and stuff like that where there's blatant lies in it that have been proven wrong repeatedly. And somehow the climate's friggin' czar in the US, and we've got our own ridiculous people too. Like we got Steve Guilbeault, political activist, as our climate guy, and has no idea that he's even on planet Earth, I'm convinced. And unhinged. We had a chief medical officer in BC, unhinged, attacked a journalist, and did. And if there's fully videos of this, and this was dropped in court, no charges or anything like that because there was not enough proof. That's a lie. But this is how it's like rules for thee and not for me. When you can have literal criminals and people that have caused harm and death to Canadians, when you have it where they can attack people that are trying to peacefully call it out. Because again, like he actually approached this guy with this friggin' siren thing that he had and was literally like being a psychopath, just like Neely Kaplan-Murr, who is another PhD doctor. How much did it cost you? Charges dropped. And if it was me or you or anyone else, like we'd still be in jail, right? Because even people that were part of the Freedom Convoy that were peaceful, they got jail, charged, arrested, bank accounts frozen, I mean. And we're being led by morons who think that we're the idiots. It's the irony is not lost on me. And that's why it was quite difficult to work in and around these friggin' types of people. And still is, because they're disgusting to me. They're disgusting. And they need to be fired already.
We're on the brink of war. Our economy is in the tank. People can't buy.
Chrystia Freeland, Justin Trudeau. We are the worst. We're last on the list for the economy, for international involvement. No one's taking us seriously. We're a literal joke, and it's because of who we have in power.
Homes, they can't pay their daycare, they can't make their car notes. The border's wide open and groceries are sky high, and cities are kicking kids out of school so that they can house immigrants over the cold. Even Elmo himself can't escape the depressing sense that is our country right now. What does Joe Biden do? What does he do? What does he say? He says to himself, God, you know what we need? More John Podesta. That'll level it out. That should make him happy. People need more John Podesta. So John Kerry is stepping down.
Gavin Newsom?
If you don't know who John Kerry is, he's the one that is in charge of all of the climate change and the climate crisis bullshit. So as he's stepping down in the spring, the Biden administration came out and said, God dang it, we need more John Podesta. John Podesta is going to head up his next special envoy for the climate. Podesta, a veteran political strategist and lobbyist, presidential advisor on clean energy, will succeed John Kerry, who is stepping down after 3 years. He's going to be taking on the international role in addition to his current White House job, overseeing $370 billion with B in spending on clean energy projects under the landmark 2022 Inflation Reduction Act. Inflation reduction. That had nothing to do with inflation, but I digress. Kerry doesn't know when he's going to step down, but Mr. Podesta is widely expected to take the role of an acting position. Under the recently passed law, the job of special envoy would require Senate confirmation. The Senate's going to do it because they're all in on it. They're all a bunch of creepy old men. Just when you thought it couldn't get any worse.
Creepy old men and creepy old women.
It's a
Nancy
one-way
Pelosi,
trip,
Hillary
that
Clinton,
shit
they're gross
horseshit.
and creepy. So it's not just them, but Podesta is absolutely gross. And there's irrefutable evidence of really disgusting stuff that he's done. So this is a good channel. I'd like to share some things. This is what I wanted to share. Only because it sounded interesting and I have not seen this video and I know it's already running long, but I just, I felt compelled. Since we're on this train right now anyways.
There is absolutely no doubt that Donald Trump is supported, owned, and operated by the Zionist Jew power structure. It is a verifiable fact. It is a fact.
I will say again that there are Zionist Christians, Zionist Jews, and even within that, like not everyone in a certain group or organization is crazy, right? There's a small group of people on the left and right end of the behavioral spectrums, whatever you want to call it, in all systems, in all societies. And that includes Zionism as well. So it's not freaking everyone. There's like approximately, on the record, like approximately 7 million in the world, 5 million Christian, approximately 2 million Jewish. And not all of them are bad people. Spoiler alert, not even most. It's a small friggin' group of crazy people. The same people that go to Bohemian Grove and Davos and stuff like that and do these friggin' underground friggin' meetings and write scripts and narratives that they think that we're believing. And we're just having to fucking sit back and enjoy the ride, I guess.
The mainstream media and mainstream alternative media alike will dare not touch. Anyone ignoring this fact and not exposing this is either incredibly naive or bought and paid for to sell you disinformation. Donald Trump is absolutely surrounded by and has appointed psychopathic neocons and Rothschild Zionists, yet many are in delusion and denial, largely in part due to their desperate desire for a savior. And this is what the elite have counted on. It is through this desperation and demoralization of a collective consciousness, sick and tired of a corrupt system
And yes, Elon Musk too. There's connections with money,
pull off another Pony show
donations and Soros, and
people
connections
into
with
believing that
ChatGPT.
once again, things could be different this time. Through the obsolete and meaningless system of voting, Hope and Change 2.0. Unfortunately, this is just another case of meet the new boss, same as the old boss. We are led to believe that Trump is at war with the mainstream media and the establishment, a mainstream media that is mainly Zionist, Jewish owned and operated. Another verifiable fact. Trump is also surrounded and supported by an endless stream of Ashkenazi Jews in his organizations and administration.
And that's not, and again, like not everyone is a friggin' criminal that's part of that organization as well. But for years now, like I've been calling out Trump. Unfortunately for people, right? Because they think that because I also call out Biden that I'm pro-Trump. That's why I always have to reiterate that I agreed with the fact that he should have possibly been impeached, like after January 6, 2021. But also because of like the Space Force stuff, right? Like they had announced in 2019. Like even as of 2019, I was awake. I was more awake. 2016, I was awake to like the 9/11 stuff, and like some pretty big events throughout history. And then I would say by 2019, I was fully awake. That's why I didn't get vaccinated, even though I was in in Ottawa, Ontario, where like 90% of people here basically or more were like, I think are even definitely double vaccinated. But it is hard to understand why people are supporting Trump. And it's because it's because of the like how the media and other elected officials are continuing to put him in the friggin' news. Okay, like just let Biden and Trump retire. They're both friggin' senior citizens. Like they're both not like they're cognitive decline and all that stuff. Like I just feel like it's just for all of our best interest if these guys just fucked off. Okay, because like neither of them, right, and father of vaccine, and people are. That's another thing. I was saying that as well. People are trying to forget the fact that Trump was pushing for this to be expedited before any like longitudinal studies were done. Where it takes years of longitudinal studies before you put something out on the friggin' market, especially like for 100% of the friggin' population. And he was trying to like make it like where like he was like fucking curing cancer. And that was another thing where I was saying like, what are you doing? Like, no, this is like, no, like you're wrong. And yeah, and with QAnon, like a lot of them are Trump supporters as well. And so I don't understand. And I don't mean to upset people because I know people are really diehard Trump supporters, even people that I know fucking personally that are Canadian, right? If I say anything bad about Trump, they walk out the friggin' door and like with the flipping me the bird, you know what I mean? I'm like, I don't want to hear it. And I'm just like, it's, you know, it is what it is. There's his links to Epstein. There's his links to Maxwell, his links to like people within propaganda industries like NASA. And so come on, guys, like he's part of it, right? And so he's not going to push anything good for us like you think. And Space Force, you know, like a staged and planned alien friggin' invasion, Project Bluebeam bullshit. Like, let's not do that, right? Like, let's not. Can we not, right? Like, is the world not fucked up enough right now? It's a dumpster fire. It's a mess, right? Like, can we not? Yeah, like the vaccine, Space Force, all of this bullshit under Trump, and people are trying to ignore that. And then even with January 6th, right? Like there was, in my humble opinion, an attempt to incite riots as well on his behalf with what he was saying. And that also doesn't help. And a riots, it doesn't, anyway, I could go on a friggin' tangent about that, but yeah, he's not your guy. He's just really, really rich. And he comes from a really, really, really rich family. And his uncle has like friggin' Tesla's work, all of his works. Okay. And there's probably a lot of fucking money in that as well. And all they're doing is paying for propaganda to be pushed to the masses. And that's what we're feeding and like getting, like, that's what we're consuming. And he's paying for it. Just like Justin Trudeau, he's using state-funded media to like prop himself up as this amazing guy, and he's not.
He is, of course, a quote-unquote lifelong supporter and true friend of Israel.
And he trusted Fauci.
The largest terrorist state in the world.
I gotta friggin' put that. Oh my God, I go on all these friggin'. Oh my God, like. And so he also got he got bamboozled by a weaseled gnome elf on a shelf. Like, you know what I mean? This guy that for decades was killing people. You know, of certain demographics targeting as well, like the homosexual community, like disgusting evil man with AIDS. And I could go on like just believe this guy. And he was even saying like he was going to like investigate the vaccines, and then Fauci again, he was like 2'0", right? Looks like he hasn't lifted a weight in his entire life. You know what I mean? Would blow away unless he was carrying a paperweight. And like telling him, yeah, you shouldn't investigate the vaccines. It's not in your best interest. How, like, I just, and even if like someone said it to me, like I would be like, I'm now going to further do it, right? Just get the fuck out of my office and you're arrested because I'm the president. That's what my response would have been to that.
Sadly, most people do not realize that Israel
like
and
that.
Mossad intelligence were key players in
down,
carrying out 9/11. If Trump truly was for the people, he would help expose the stranglehold of Israel and the Zionist power.
You know, I would like Fauci to get in jail. I honestly would. He is an absolute vile, disgusting human being who not only harms and does creepy, weird friggin' research experiments on humans, but he also does it on animals. And I also have a huge issue with that as well. And yeah, it would be nice if he would actually get in jail for all the crimes he's committed against all of humanity and the world.
Structure. Keep in mind, the Israel of the Bible is a completely different entity than the modern United Nations created state of Israel, which is a terrorist state of the New World Order. This is a distinction many indoctrinated Christians fail to grasp.
I mean, if you want me to slam Biden, he's a pedophile. Like it's on the record. His daughter even admitted that when she was 13 years old, he was having creepy showers with her that she didn't like. Okay. Pedo Pete, even on his son's friggin' phone, you know, like that's he's saved as, and with the human trafficking, drug trafficking stuff, lying about all of his credentials for school, like he was bottom of his class at best. And again, because of his family and his connections is the only reason why he even has a degree. His name on a friggin' certificate. Senile, clearly. And again, all the friggin' code words from the CIA, FBI with the friggin' pizza and fucking cheese pizza with sauce and like ice cream and like just like get arrested already, ladies and gentlemen. Like a fucking gross guy as well. And then also with what's going on with Ukraine and Russia, Afghanistan, fucking Israel. Like this guy is destroying America. And he's an actual criminal. And this is what I mean when you get gross, unethical, immoral, or amoral people that are leading you or that are in these positions, you think that they have your best interest? Bro, if they're going to do the things they do to their family, their pets, Joe Biden, by the way, abuses his pets, which is why they like his dogs, you know, have bitten multiple like security force people, you know. People that do bad things to their own intimate like family members, they're even worse, ladies and gentlemen. Spoiler alert to people that that are not in their intimate groups.
America is just a puppet regime of Israel.
And Kamala Harris, I can go on off a fucking tangent on her as well. Also uneducated, a cheater, adulterer, liar. Her daughter, part of Balenciaga, and we all know it's Balenciaga. What's on with that fucking stuff? So she's directly connected to that, and indirectly. Shares and stocks in the military-industrial complex. Her and her husband. Yeah, all of these people are evil, right? And they believe that there's a devil or a Satan. And they believe that it's like this good being or whatever. They're just misinterpreting astrotheosophy and astronomy. This is what I mean when they're talking about Satan and demons. These are people they're talking about that are just accessing their lower level emotions and mistreating people and animals, like abusing people that are angry and aggressive and liars and cheaters and stealers and that stuff. They are embodiments themselves of these demonic beings that they're talking about. And what we're calling angels are people that are loving, caring, empathetic, nurturing, understanding, trying to be, the creators or helpful within societies. So these are the angels and demons. They're actually us. Okay. And we are responsible for our own actions, our own behaviors and stuff like that. And if we want the world to be a better place, we need to improve ourselves and come from a loving place and accessing our higher levels of emotions and frequencies and vibrations and waves. And because we are light beings, light in motion. And and they are not like
Israel
beings.
and Zion. A small fraction of the population
Well,
are
technically
finally
they are, but-
discovering that this Zionist apparatus controls our Federal Reserve System, corporations, Hollywood, and our media, and have our politicians in their back pockets. An even smaller fraction of the population understands that Trump would never get to where he is if he weren't owned and operated by these same powers. And as they say, the proof is in the pudding. In addition to Trump being a staunch Zionist supporter, all one needs to do is look at who surrounds and supports Donald Trump. Then you will understand how the media versus Trump narrative is just another ruse and Zionist script. The scripted battle between Trump and the Jewish
It's so
media
boring.
was the key chessboard move.
Like the guys on the ballots, like the friggin' the football teams. It's a repeat of 2020. Like people are trying to say that it's a filler year. It's not. 24, 42. This is a sacred gematria number in certain occult groups, unfortunately. So this year likely is going to have a little bit more entertainment than we want. And May of this year, we have the World Economic Forum trying to push multiple countries to sign a friggin' international pandemic treaty, which Canada should be not doing. But the people that we have representing us in Canada, the two people that they have that are going to the World Economic Forum, they're not even Canadian. And they're absolutely pushing the fudging woke leftist agenda. Okay, so unless they get fired, and I willingly, I offer myself, I will represent Canada. Top secret government clearance. I'm sure they don't, you know what I mean? So fully, can represent Canada on this shit. Because I would say no. I would be like, go fuck yourself. Stop ruining the world and get a life. Get a real job.
To legitimizing Trump in the eyes of the demoralized populace. A demoralized populace who by now has little to no trust for the so-called dinosaur media. The idea that Trump is at war with a Jewish-owned media
Yeah.
while simultaneously surrounded and supported by an army of them is as ridiculous and absurd as it can get, and isn't remotely believable to anyone aware of who really owns the media.
Oh, I'm sorry if
Many
my
have
sound is
also been
bad.
fooled into believing Trump has hinted at 9/11 truth, but this is nothing more than laughable to any real 9/11 researcher. What he has stated publicly on 9/11 thus far has been nothing but lies and misdirection. In addition to being friends with 9/11 perp Rudy Giuliani, Trump has focused on the limited hangout and misdirection angle of Saudi Arabia, which is what gatekeepers, disinfo agents, and the media focuses on,
He's an
ignoring the
opportunist.
huge elephant in the room, Israel. Trump has publicly stated that he saw, quote unquote, thousands of Muslim Americans celebrating the 9/11 attacks in New Jersey, which is the biggest lie imaginable. The real truth Trump or your mainstream media will never mention is the only people actually documented celebrating the 9/11 event were a small handful of undercover Israeli Mossad agents who had been in the U.S. for months and some for years, whose operation was busted by a nationwide FBI sting and were captured on the George Washington Bridge with explosives in
I've
their
said
van
this so
of
many
their front
freaking times
company, Urban Moving Systems.
Favoring the
that
reports we're
there
getting
are
now.
propagandists, even with like the gays for Palestine, like signs that you were seeing. I was saying that these are freaking paid propagandists, likely government or working with government, hired by them, duped into doing this, right? Like they're not actual people that believe that or think that. And I was going to go on another tangent, but there was gunshots.
2 or 3 men arrested on the New Jersey Parkway.
It's not a big deal here. There's people that shoot guns literally all the time, and it might be rabbit season now. I'm thinking it just probably started.
Deborah, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. That is the information that I'm getting from two sources, that there was a van either on the New Jersey Turnpike or the Garden State Parkway, and that it was near the George Washington Bridge. There were 2 or 3 men who were in the van. The van was pulled over. It is not clear why the van was pulled over, but when it was, law enforcers found tons of explosives inside of the van. That is right now all I'm hearing. But again, 2 to 3 people in custody, and we are trying to get more information on that right now.
And word late tonight that 2 suspects are in FBI custody after a truckload of explosives was discovered around the George Washington Bridge. That bridge links New York to New Jersey over the Hudson River. Whether the discovery of those explosives has anything to do with other events of the day is unclear. But the FBI has 2 suspects in hand, said the truck load of explosives, enough explosives were in the truck to do great damage to the George Washington Bridge. But they arrested the 2 suspects and they're questioning them as we speak.
Since 9/11, we have thousands of pages of FBI, CIA, and DOJ reports documenting the arrests made on 9/11. The FBI report outlines the fact that the dancing Israelis were found to have taken 76 photographs, maps, plane tickets, box cutters, and almost $5,000 in cash. In their 2004 civil lawsuit, the Israeli plaintiffs demanded their possessions and money back, in addition to many other demands. The declassified FBI reports also outline the little-known fact that additional Israelis driving vans were arrested by police in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New Hampshire after the 9/11 attack. Numerous trucks and vans with explosives were stopped by police on 9/11. And, as outlandish and unbelievable as it may sound, one of the vans had a mural painted on the side of it depicting a plane crashing into the Twin Towers. This is confirmed by 2 sources. 1, the New York Police radio transmission recordings from the day of 9/11. 2, it was also discussed by U.S. Transportation Secretary Norman Mineta himself in his February 2006 official report titled Saving City Lifelines, Lessons Learned in the 9/11 Terrorist Attacks. The report stated, quote, "There were continuing moments of alarm. A panel truck with a painting of a plane flying into the World Trade Center was stopped near the temporary command post. It
The
proved to
thermite
be
and other
linked to a
toxins
group
that were
of
in the air,
ethnic Middle Eastern
it
people
was
who
due
did not
to
speak
multiple
English.
controlled
Fearing that it might be a
demolitions.
truck bomb, the NYPD immediately evacuated the area,
That
called
level
out
would
the
have
bomb
not
squad,
been
and detained the occupants until a thorough
as
search was
high
made.
with just
The
plain.
vehicle was found to be an innocent delivery truck." End quote. The report, of course, makes absolutely no mention of the truck
Yeah, so he's
exploding
probably a
or the
spy.
fact that these Middle Eastern people had actually been Israeli spies.
Spencer, I got a message on that plane.
It's a big truck with a mural painted of an airplane diving into New York City and exploding. I don't know what's in the truck. The truck is in between 6th and 7th on King Street. I sent for I'll send the issue in the bomb squad there for Westgate.
I have a lot of I have multiple videos on 9/11 from multiple experts and theories about things like high heat direct energy weapons also being used, which was also mentioned, which is why I'm bringing that up. And just because of like the level of disintegration that happened and like the high friggin' heat, like basically like molten lava, which would only be possible, you know, with a dew or EMP, whatever you want to call it. And that also like brings me back to what's going on with friggin' Lahaina, Hawaii still. Like we need to friggin' not forget and stop talking about it. It's been less than a friggin' year and people have already forgotten about that. And the fact that there are still people that are not accounted for, a lot of children included, and there are a lot of people still getting fucked off with their land and not getting money or assistance. And these are because people are trying to exploit them and take them off their land. And it just lifted for anyone that there was policies or rules in place for people that they wouldn't be able to be evicted due to everything going on, and that has now been since lifted. So now more people are able to evict people that were seeking temporary residence until their places get fixed. And even with that, John Pelletier, who was the chief of police, Lahaina, that I've talked about countless times, he was also with the shootings in Las Vegas, 2017 shootings, and scripted narrative being pushed with that as well. I could go on, but like I've got so many videos with that, and then different, and that's why I also talk about colors and frequencies and waves and lasers, because also within like for the wildfires as well, I believe that this summer also within Canada, because I've shared this and I got it from Dutch Sense, and who's a geologist, geophysicist, like expert, and someone that like documents these events. He showed that within seconds, like it's impossible that they would have been timed like that accurately, like multiple different hits, strikes in northern Quebec, and then fires being lit, right? And so, yeah, 100% land grab, and then FEMA getting there before it happened. Why? How? Interesting. And look at the color blue not being impacted in certain areas. Vehicles that were blue or roofing that was blue, it was not impacted. You look at the high heat from like the vehicles and the trees not being touched, the guy like right beside it. There's just so much we can get into with the deceit, and we're not going to get it from mainstream media, which is why I started to share this stuff to begin with. I'm tired of the friggin' lies. Because they're still in power.
Washington Post, we've got, I mean, what's going on here? Well, I took a lot of heat and I was...
No, I can barely hear that.
Of course, even though Israel's involvement in 9/11 is now documented, proven, and verifiable fact, this information has been well swept under the radar. Most Americans will never realize what took place regarding the many Israeli spies arrested and detained on 9/11, only to be later released and sent back to Israel.
And emails in Hebrew and letters in Hebrew warning off over 4,000 Jews that were supposed to be at the World Trade Center that didn't show up for work. And the reason why they know this as well is because thousands of people that knew that their family members worked at the trade centers were calling in. And so this was all on the record. They were saying, like, you know, have you found so-and-so? And it turns out that out of the thousands, 3,000 or 4,000 people, there was only 2 people that were actually confirmed dead and actually involved that like with the World Trade Center collapse. The remainers were tipped off, and it was in Hebrew. So I'm just throwing that out there. Oh yeah, and this. Oh my God, these disgusting friggin' people that are also part of the human trafficking ring and having their own personal firefighters protect their land and show up also like within days before this happened, the fires, interestingly enough. And then blockades and rerouting people to their death. Like, are you mad? Like, oh my goodness. And Oprah Winfrey with her, I don't even know what you'd want to call them, schools. Look at how many issues there have been with reports of sexual abuse, kidnappings, other sex trafficking ring involvements. The people that she's been connected with, like in these island nations as well, that have been charged and jailed because of this as well. They looked perfect. They look innocent. And the head of the UN for human trafficking is the Pope. Like this, you can't make this stuff up. I shared this in yesterday's video, so it's literally, I just the world is a fucking mess, man.
Information will never be mentioned or covered by the mainstream media, let alone Donald Trump. And that is because he is obviously in bed with Israel and the Mossad.
People don't want to hear that.
Michael Aboud, Communications Coordinator, Donald J. Trump for President, Sephardic Jew. Paul Schleitner, Chairman, Supervisor.
Doesn't make these
Board,
people bad
Deutsche
people,
Bank,
just to be clear.
Donald Trump's largest lender, Ashkenazi Jew. Miriam Adelson, Endorser, Donald J. Trump for President, Donor, Future 45 PAC, Finance Vice Chairman, Trump Presidential Inaugural Committee, Ashkenazi Jew. Sheldon Adelson, Endorser, Donald J. Trump for President, Donor, Future 45 PAC, Finance Vice Chairman, Trump Presidential Inaugural Committee, Ashkenazi Jew. Paul Atkins, Member, President Trump's Strategic and Policy Forum, Ashkenazi Jew. Brian Ballard, Finance Vice Chairman, Trump Presidential Inaugural Committee, Ashkenazi Jew. Elliot Broidy, Vice Chairman, Trump Victory Committee, Finance Vice Chairman, Trump Presidential Inaugural Committee, Ashkenazi Jew.
And Justin Trudeau did as well. And people don't like to hear this because, like, when I friggin' say bad things about Trump, like, people hate me for it, right? This is where I lose so many of my friggin' followers, and I understand it. You know what I mean? I respect your opinion, but it's just, I'm sharing like information like that. That's just showing that he's part of the club, right? And then and it doesn't mean that these Jesuit schools are bad schools. That's not what I mean at all. Just to clarify, but there's just certain bloodlines or groups that believe that they're superior to everyone else. And it's such a small demographic of the friggin' of the world. And even Pierre Poilievre and Justin Trudeau went to the same Jesuit school as well, right? So they're also people that went to school with each other, and that they're part of the same groups. It's very small, okay? It's a small group, and you're not in it. I'm not in it, is what they like to say. And so within this group, there's people that are poisoning it, right, from the inside, unfortunately, and then also because of how much reach they have and what positions they hold in the organizations they're part of, right? It's making everything fucking worse, right? It's the butterfly effect, chaos theory, whatever you want to call it, because of the people that they are allowing to be, in positions where they really have no business being. You shouldn't put a friggin' drug addict in a room full of drugs. You shouldn't put an alcoholic in a room full of alcohol. Like, you know what I mean? Like why? And again, this doesn't make him a bad, evil person. It just means that, like, he's part of a small group of people that are knowingly aiding and abetting criminal activity, including at the higher levels of our government and American government and other governments internationally, including the CIA and FBI and NASA and such. And so is Pierre Poilievre the answer? There are people that they play chess. All right. So he's been groomed for this position for literally decades. I've been tracking him being the possible prime minister now for over a decade. And because he's been in for over 20 years and then like in government. And but even with COVID, got that wrong. There's just been a lot of things being like that there's a lot of misinformation being spread. There's definitely a bias. And are these people that as soon as they get to the positions that that's being agreed upon, that they're going to cause the nightmare, right? Because like we got to be Benjamin Fulford. That sounds familiar.
Safra Katz, Executive Committee Member, Trump Presidential Transition Team, Ashkenazi Jew. Michael Cohen, Executive Vice President and Special Counsel, the Trump Organization, Ashkenazi Jew. Gary Cohn, Director, United States National Economic Council, Ashkenazi Jew. Delos Cosgrove, Member, President Trump's Strategic and Policy Forum, Ashkenazi Jew. Gil Deser, President, Trump Desert Development, Ashkenazi Jew. Michael Deser, founder, Trump Desert Development, Ashkenazi Jew. Louis Eisenberg, chairman, Trump Victory Committee, finance co-chairman, Trump Presidential Inaugural Committee, Ashkenazi Jew. Boris Epstein, senior advisor, Donald J. Trump for president, Ashkenazi Jew. Stephen Feinberg, donor, Trump Victory Fund, member, Trump Economic Advisory Council, Ashkenazi Jew. Lawrence Fink, member, President Trump's Strategic and Policy Forum, Ashkenazi Jew. Alan Fishman, chairman, Ladder Capital, Donald Trump's second largest lender, Ashkenazi Jew. David Friedman, co-chairman, Israel Advisory Committee for Donald Trump, United States Ambassador to Israel, Ashkenazi Jew. Samuel Fox, vice chairman, Trump Victory Committee, Ashkenazi Jew.
Oh, and look who
Alan
they're
Garten.
And the people they have like on the ballot, like Nikki Haley is not competent or qualified to be in the position she's in. Neither is Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi, any of these people, Trump and Biden included. And just because I'm saying that like there's a lot of people within various levels of government that are a part of a certain group, it doesn't make them bad people, but there are absolutely people within that group that are fucking with our lives and bad.
Executive Vice President and General Counsel, the Trump Organization.
Netanyahu being one of them. Like I'm saying it by fucking name.
Bruce
Like
Gill,
Biden, Trump,
endorser, Donald
arrest
J.
these
Trump
people,
for President,
Podesta,
Ashkenazi Jew. Michael Glasgow,
Trudeau, Christy
Deputy
Freeland,
Campaign Manager and
Hadi
National
Haju,
Political
Marco
Director,
Mendicino,
Donald J. Trump for President.
Omar Alghabra,
Special Advisor for
You're welcome.
Operations, Trump Presidential Transition Team, Ashkenazi Jew. Lawrence Glick, Executive Vice President of Strategic Development, the Trump Organization, Ashkenazi Jew. Jason Greenblatt, Executive Vice President.
And the people that are committing these disgusting acts, these are not people that are believers in any true God, right? So they're not Christians, they're not Jewish, they're not like Buddhist, they're not like a Muslim, is Islamic, they're not part of any religion because like they don't like religious, like the true religious texts don't teach the human trafficking, drug trafficking shit. Okay, we believe in a creator, in a creating environment, regardless of where we come from. You know what I mean? And what skin color our friggin' deity represents. Who gives a shit? You know what I mean? That's irrelevant. We're all light in motion, all the same friggin' colors of the rainbow. And so people that are willing and actually committing terrible things against people knowingly, these are not God believe. These are scum of the earth. These are evil people. Okay, and what I mean by evil, I don't mean that in a as like they're being friggin' consumed by evil. They're just like they're human beings, just that are just not good people, and they should be away from people. And so they're not, because even like in all the religions, there's a lot of beauty to it, and it's all based on astrotheosophy, in my humble opinion, based off of this divine clock in this cosmos.
And Chief Legal Officer, the Trump Organization, Co-Chairman, Israel Advisory Committee for Donald J. Trump, President Trump's Special Representative for International Negotiations, Ashkenazi Jew. Vincent Harris, former Digital Strategy Manager, Donald J. Trump for President, Ashkenazi Jew. Thomas Hicks, Sr., Finance Vice Chairman.
This is unnecessary, honestly.
Douglas,
like we get it. So this is gonna be like the rest of the video. Like I mean, a lot of these people are not bad
endorser,
people.
Donald J. Trump for President. Donor, Trump Victory Fund. Donor, Trump Victory Fund. Be anti-establishment.
He's just showing the multiple people connected to Donald Trump that are very wealthy, very influential, heads of banking systems, education systems, military industrial complexes, different charities, banking systems, if I haven't already mentioned that. So anyways, I will leave it at that. And I will reiterate that the earth is flat and we did not go to the moon and never will. Just more annoyance for people that believe the earth is a globe. But I will leave it at that. And the more we speak about this in a peaceful way and come from a loving place, like I think that this is the way I had, I think in 2024, there's just been so much resentment and frustration, obviously, and warranted, but like it's not helping. And so even me, like I've been like so negative and depressed through like especially since 2024, like it's been a friggin' roller coaster when you're seeing all the evil for yourself and trying so hard on a day, like 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to stop big things from happening and just seeing it still fucking happen like right in front of your fucking face that impacts you, your friends, your family, your country, other people in other fucking countries. It's just soul crushing sometimes, but onward and upwards. And because the more we get this information out, we are beating the algorithms, the censorship, especially in places like Canada, and the mainstream media. We're making them more and more irrelevant, and we're making them be forced to explain themselves, right? So like people within cabinet, keep calling them, don't be crazy. Email them, don't be crazy. Write letters, don't be crazy. And then it's also a matter of like I'm getting together and forming communities and organizations to get this information out there. And on that note, I will finally leave it at that. And I hope that everyone has a wonderful, blessed day.